Agent Sarah Mitchell was at the most critical moment of the operation. They had rescued 23 children from the house in Brussels. But this was just the beginning. The children, the youngest being 8 years old, all told the same story. The nice uncle said he would save us. He worked in a big office. There were many flags on the wall. Sarah didn't understand at first. Then, a child pulled out a badge from her bag. Blue background with a world map. UN logo. Sarah's hands began to tremble, because the children were talking about the UN building, and the nice uncle was UN Deputy Secretary General David Lancaster. Before we begin this tale of international corruption, child trafficking, and one agent's fight against a conspiracy that reaches the highest levels of global power, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these voices alive. Agent Sarah Mitchell was 34 years old and Interpol's most experienced human trafficking specialist. She had been working in this field for 12 years, coordinating cases from around the world. In her office on the 6th floor of Interpol headquarters in Lyon, her walls were covered with world maps and photos of missing children. Over the past 3 years, she had noticed a pattern. Missing children cases worldwide were not just increasing, they were becoming organized. Children from specific regions, specific demographic groups were disappearing, their traces completely erased. "Agent Mitchell," said her supervisor, Inspector Jacques Dubois, "we have an urgent call from Brussels, major operation." Sarah closed her laptop and prepared. Brussels operations usually exposed major networks. It was the heart of Europe. How major? 23 children, from different countries, missing anywhere from 6 months to 3 years. Sarah's heart raced. 23 children in a single house. This wasn't just a small operation, it was part of a major network. The house in Brussels looked ordinary. 3 stories, on a quiet street. But the inside was horrific. Locked rooms, security cameras, and 23 children. The youngest was 8-year-old Elena, the oldest 16-year-old Mikhail. "The children are traumatized," said Captain Vanderberg from Belgian police. "They don't want to talk." Sarah was an expert at talking to children. She approached slowly, patiently. "Hello, Elena," she said to the 8-year-old girl. "I'm Sarah. I'm here to take you home." Elena nodded but didn't speak. "Can you tell me what happened here?" "There were bad men, but there was also a nice uncle." "Nice uncle?" "Yes. He said he would save us. He worked in a big office." Sarah took notes. "Did you see this office?" "Yes. It was very big. There were many flags on the wall, from all over the world." This sounded familiar to Sarah. "What else do you remember?" Elena pulled out a small badge from her bag. Blue background with a world map. UN logo. Sarah's breath caught. Sarah took the badge. It was original. One of the special badges distributed at the UN General Assembly. Only very special people could get this badge. "Elena, where did you get this badge?" "The nice uncle gave it. He said, 'This will protect you.'" Sarah talked to the other children too. They all told the same story. Nice uncle, big office, many flags. And several of them had the same badges. 15-year-old Maria could tell more details. The man spoke very politely, in English. He said, "I will help you." His office was very big. You could see a big park from the window. Sarah understood. She was describing the UN building, United Nations headquarters in New York. When Sarah returned to Lyon, she began examining the case in depth. She had the UN logo badges analyzed. They came back authentic, printed within the last 2 years. "Jacques," she said to her supervisor, "this is huge." "What do you mean?" UN badges. The children are describing the UN building. This network has connections to the UN. Jacques was surprised. "Sarah, that's a very dangerous accusation." "I know, but the evidence is clear." Sarah reached out to her contacts at the UN. Agent Thomas Wright from FBI was on secondment to the UN. "Tom, I have a sensitive question for you. Could there be human trafficking suspicions at the UN?" The phone went silent. "Sarah, this is very sensitive. Let's meet." Sarah and Tom met in Geneva, at a cafe near the UN building. "Sarah, your suspicions might be justified," Tom said quietly. "What do you mean?" I've noticed some strange things over the past few years. During humanitarian operations, child numbers don't match. Records are missing. Which operations? Refugee camps, disaster relief operations, particularly under Deputy Secretary General David Lancaster's management. Sarah's heart stopped. David Lancaster? Yes, head of Humanitarian Affairs, very respected man, Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Tom, what do you know about this Lancaster? He has a perfect career, 15 years at the UN managing child protection programs worldwide, but what? After his operations, some children go missing. They don't appear in records. When Sarah returned to Lyon, she began detailed research on David Lancaster. His file was perfect. Cambridge University graduate, 15 years at the UN Deputy Secretary General of Humanitarian Affairs, managing aid programs in 50 countries, Nobel Peace Prize nominee, savior of millions of children. But Sarah dug deeper. Financial records, travel patterns, private communications. She discovered that $50 million had entered Lancaster's private accounts in the past 5 years. Source, unclear. Offshore accounts, shell companies, and his travel pattern was suspicious. After every child disappearance, Lancaster would visit that region, under the name of official business. Sarah went to Geneva unofficially. She entered the UN building with a visitor badge under the pretext of a research meeting. 12th floor, David Lancaster's office. The door read, Deputy Secretary General, Humanitarian Affairs. Sarah approached the secretary. Excuse me, I have an appointment with Mr. Lancaster. I'm sorry, Mr. Lancaster is in South Sudan for a humanitarian mission. When will he be back? Next week. Sarah took advantage of the opportunity. She entered a conference room near Lancaster's office. The walls were covered with flags, 193 UN member country flags, exactly as the children had described. Sarah investigated what Lancaster was doing in South Sudan. Official itinerary, refugee camp inspection, humanitarian aid distribution. But Sarah called local contacts, Agent Maria Santos from the UN field office. Maria, can you give me information about Lancaster's activities there? Sarah, it's very strange. Lancaster visited the refugee camp, but he separated the children. He said, for special care. How many children? 12 children, ages 8 to 15. Orphan children, clean records. Sarah's stomach turned. Where are these children now? I don't know. Lancaster took them for a special program. He said they were taken to Kenya. Sarah called the UN office in Kenya. She asked about the 12 children Lancaster had brought. No record, said the Kenya office. We didn't receive any children from South Sudan. The children had disappeared. Lancaster had taken them but hadn't delivered them. Sarah was now certain David Lancaster was a criminal who kidnapped children worldwide, using his UN position to turn humanitarian crises into opportunities. Sarah put all the data together. In the past 5 years, more than 300 children had disappeared during Lancaster's humanitarian missions. Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia, Venezuela, Myanmar, in every crisis region. The pattern was clear. Humanitarian crisis, Lancaster organizes aid mission, separates orphan children for special care, children disappear, money enters Lancaster's offshore accounts. This wasn't just an individual operation, it was a massive international network. And Lancaster was operating using his UN position, a humanitarian mask. Sarah gathered all the evidence and presented it to her supervisor, Jacques. Jacques, this is certain. David Lancaster is the world's biggest child trafficker. Jacques examined the file. Sarah, this is incredible, but also very dangerous. Why? Accusing Lancaster means accusing the UN. The political consequences are huge. But we have to save the children. I know, but the evidence must be absolute, legally sound. Sarah was right, but Jacques was right too. Accusing Lancaster could create an international incident. Sarah made a risky decision. She would infiltrate Lancaster's next operation Undercover. There had been an earthquake in Haiti. Lancaster was organizing an emergency humanitarian mission. Sarah decided to join as a humanitarian volunteer. Fake credentials, false identity. Dr. Sarah Johnson, pediatric specialist from Doctors Without Borders. "Sarah, this is very dangerous," said Jacques. "What if Lancaster recognizes you?" "He won't. I'm a field agent. He's a bureaucrat. We've never met. But if he catches you, then I'll be both evidence and witness." Sarah flew to Haiti. She joined the UN humanitarian team. Lancaster was there, personally supervising the field mission. She saw him face to face for the first time. Around 50, charismatic, confident, he looked like the perfect humanitarian leader. "Dr. Johnson," Lancaster said, shaking her hand, "welcome to our mission. We're here to help these children." Sarah noticed the irony. "Thank you, Mr. Lancaster. I'm excited to contribute." There were over 200 children in the refugee camp. Lancaster was secretly marking certain children, ages 8 to 15, orphans, no family ties. On the second day, Sarah caught Lancaster in a private conversation. He was making a phone call. "Yes, I have 15 candidates. Clean backgrounds, no family. The buyers in Dubai are ready. Transfer will be through Kenya office," Sarah secretly recorded. This was direct evidence. Lancaster was separating children for medical examination. Sarah volunteered to accompany the children. A special transport vehicle arrived. Luxury van, inside modifications, restraints, sedation equipment. "Dr. Johnson," Lancaster said, "these children need special care at our facility in Dominican Republic." Sarah knew this was a lie. There was no UN facility in Dominican Republic. On the third day, Lancaster began to suspect Sarah. "Dr. Johnson, your documents seem irregular." Sarah was prepared. "I work in crisis zones. Paperwork is often delayed." "I see. Which other missions have you worked?" Sarah told her fake backstory, but Lancaster was suspicious. That evening, while Sarah was researching on her laptop in her room, there was a knock on the door. Lancaster's security team. "Dr. Johnson, Mr. Lancaster would like to see you." Sarah was alone with Lancaster in his temporary office. "Dr. Johnson, I think we need to talk honestly." Sarah tried to stay calm. "About what?" "About who you really are." Lancaster turned his laptop around. On the screen was Sarah's real photo, Agent Sarah Mitchell, Interpol. "How long have you been watching me?" Sarah could drop the mask now. "Long enough. What do you think you know? I know you're trafficking children, using your UN position, making millions." Lancaster smiled. "Prove it." Lancaster was surprisingly calm. He even seemed proud. "Agent Mitchell, you don't understand the bigger picture. Enlighten me. These children have no future. Orphans, refugees, forgotten by the world. I give them purpose." "Purpose? You sell them." "I connect them with families who can provide them a future. Rich families, better lives." Sarah was disgusted. "You're rationalizing child trafficking. I'm providing a solution to a global problem: overpopulation, poverty, abandoned children." Lancaster was a psychopath. He genuinely believed he was doing good. "Agent Mitchell, this is much bigger than you think. I don't work alone." "Who else?" "Government officials, business leaders, even other UN agencies. This is a global business worth billions," Sarah was recording. Names: Senator Rebecca Walsh, U.S. Minister Chen Wei, China, Director Klaus Weber, EU Commission, and many others. This was a massive conspiracy. International political leaders were involved. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're going to disappear, like the children." Lancaster signaled to security. Sarah was prepared. She activated her emergency beacon. The Interpol backup team was in Haiti, waiting. While security tried to restrain Sarah, an explosive diversion began. Sarah was trained in combat. She neutralized 2 guards and jumped through the window. Outside, the Interpol team was waiting. Helicopter extraction. "This is Agent Mitchell. I have target confirmed. Lancaster is the trafficker." "Copy that. Extraction in progress." With Sarah's evidence, Interpol launched a massive international investigation. Lancaster's network spread across 50 countries. The UN immediately suspended Lancaster. There was an international media explosion. UN Deputy Secretary General accused of child trafficking. Lancaster was arrested, but had powerful lawyers. The The case would be complicated. Sarah's priority was rescuing the children. Following Lancaster's network, they organized simultaneous raids in 12 countries. 47 children were rescued in Dominican Republic, 23 in Dubai, 35 in Kenya, 28 in Thailand. Total, over 200 children rescued. Elena, the 8-year-old they had rescued from Brussels, was reunited with her family in Romania. "Thank you, Agent Sarah," Elena said. "You saved us from the bad man." David Lancaster's trial became an international sensation. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, victim testimonies, recorded conversations. But Lancaster's defense team was powerful. "My client was running legitimate humanitarian operations. Some bad actors may have infiltrated, but Mr. Lancaster is innocent." Sarah was the chief witness. Her testimony was crucial. "Agent Mitchell, you infiltrated my client's operation under false pretenses." "I did, to save children's lives." "How do we know your evidence wasn't fabricated?" "Because 200 children are alive today because of this investigation." During the trial, a bigger conspiracy was revealed. Lancaster was just the operational leader. The real money came from international business leaders. Child trafficking was a lucrative business, high-end market. Wealthy families in different countries would adopt children, but not legally. Black market adoption. Some children were sold to the entertainment industry, some to wealthy pedophiles, some to forced labor. The UN position was the perfect cover. Humanitarian crises provided an endless supply of orphaned children. With Sarah's evidence, international arrests began. Senator Rebecca Walsh, USA, arrested for conspiracy. Minister Chen Wei, China, under investigation. Director Klaus Weber, EU, resigned, fled to non-extradition country. 15 other officials in different countries arrested. This was the biggest international conspiracy case in decades. After a 2-year trial, Lancaster was found guilty on all charges: 47 counts of child trafficking, 23 counts of conspiracy, 15 counts of money laundering, 8 counts of racketeering. Sentence: life imprisonment without parole. Sarah listened to Lancaster's sentence in court. "Your Honor," Lancaster said in his final statement, "I believed I was helping these children." The judge responded, "Mr. Lancaster, you exploited the most vulnerable humans on earth. You used a position of trust to commit heinous crimes. Society will be safer with you behind bars forever." The Lancaster case led to massive reform at the UN. New oversight systems, independent monitoring, transparent financial auditing. Secretary General Antonio Guterres made a public apology. "We failed these children. We allowed our humanitarian mission to be corrupted. This will never happen again." Sarah began working as a consultant at the UN to develop new security protocols. In 2029, Sarah was 39 years old. She had been promoted at Interpol and become head of the International Child Protection Unit. Lancaster was in prison, maximum security. No contact with the outside world. Many of the rescued children were living happy lives with new families. Some were struggling to recover from trauma, receiving therapy. Elena, now 13, was with her family in Romania. She wrote letters to Sarah. "Dear Agent Sarah, I'm doing well in school. I want to become a police officer like you, to help other children. Thank you for saving my life." But Lancaster's arrest hadn't stopped child trafficking. New networks were emerging. Technology was becoming more sophisticated. Dark web, cryptocurrency, AI-generated identities. Criminals were adapting. Sarah's job was never ending. Every new case, new network, new threat. "Jacques," she said to her supervisor, "the Lancaster case is closed, but the war continues." "I know, Sarah, but you proved something important." "What?" "No one is untouchable. No position too high. No institution too sacred. Justice will find them." The Lancaster case had set a precedent. International cooperation against child trafficking had dramatically improved. New technology was developed to track children. An international database was created to instantly identify missing children. Sarah's work had become a model for other agencies. Deep undercover operations, international coordination, technology integration. The case had changed Sarah. She had risked her own life to save those children, but it was worth it. She had gotten married to Thomas Wright, the FBI agent who had helped at the UN. Both continued working in child protection. They had adopted a child, Maria, a refugee from Syria, 12 years old. She wasn't one of the victims from the Lancaster case, but had been rescued from a similar situation. "Mom," Maria would say to Sarah, "when I grow up, I want to save children too." "Then we'll work together," Sarah would say. "David Lancaster is serving his life sentence in federal prison. No possibility of parole." At 68, health problems have begun. Sometimes interview requests come from journalists. Lancaster always refuses, but he fears other inmates in prison. Child traffickers are targets in prison. Sarah is considering visiting Lancaster for closure. But she's not ready yet. Every day Sarah sees new cases on her desk. Missing children reports. More than 100,000 children disappear globally every year. Lancaster's network was destroyed, but others take its place. Like a hydra, cut one head, two more grow. But Sarah doesn't lose hope. Every saved child is a victory. Every arrested trafficker is progress. "The war continues," she would say in team meetings, "but so do we." Thank you for listening to this story. Do you have people around you like Sarah Mitchell who stand against injustice, protect children, defend the truth, share their stories in the comments? Because every justice warrior's story is valuable. Every child protector's struggle is important. Don't forget to subscribe, because stories like these should be remembered, shared, kept alive. See you in the next video. And remember, sometimes the greatest evil hides in the most trusted places, but justice will find them sooner or later.